This is video 2 of walking Jenny's first rental property here in Colorado Springs. The first video we did a 5-year hold. In this video, we're talking about the 3 options you considered when you're doing this second rehab. So let's talk about 3 options. Always great to have options. What's your thought process? Where do you attack it from?
Yeah, so I guess kind of going into the whole, reason why I felt as if there's options is just over the past couple years, a lot has grown around this area. So downtown, we got the new soccer stadium, we got Denver Biscuit Company, like all this good stuff popping out downtown, some newer build, construction, just noticing that there's been a lot of growth, which also translates in most cases to a lot of rent potential. But I was noticing that the home inside wasn't as updated as it would need to be to command that sort of rent. So that's kind of what sparked the idea in the first place.
And that's a really good thing to focus on, because that's something that's important for real estate investors to know is, hey, when you first buy the property or rehabbing, is you don't want to over improve it. Mm-hmm. And depending on the location, other properties around it, the tenant class on there, there'll be different types of finishes you do on there. Now, as this neighborhood has transitioned, it's becoming nicer and rents are climbing up. So as you looked at doing, a $20,000 to $30,000 remodel, that's a chunk of money.
Yeah.
What were your options and what was your thought process on there?
Yeah, so just really kind of looking at it, there's a lot of different rehab level options and then a lot of different financing options. So that's kind of where the play came on that. So we're thinking we could go super high end, which I don't think we're quite there yet in this neighborhood. We could go mid-grade to pretty nice, which is what we focused on. And then the other option would just be turn it over just when the tenant's left, just do a simple turnover. And then from financing, we could either do a cash out refinance, HELOC, because we do have quite a bit of equity on this home, or use cash on hand. So that's kind of where we used as a starting point as our options, and then kind of decided from there.
So step 1 is figure out what level of rehab you're doing. Mm-hmm. And you'd say this is like mid-grade rehab you're doing?
Somewhere in between mid and upper.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once you figure that out, you know what that budget's gonna be like. Mm-hmm. And that brings us to these 3 options that you currently have. Yeah. Walk us through the options and explain it.
So the first option I'm considering is the max leverage approach. And in most cases, that's probably going to be what on paper makes the most sense. So just mathematically. So for instance, if we're budgeting $20,000 rehab to get this property, improved and evolved a little bit. If I were to do a cash out refinance, assuming a 4% interest rate, my mortgage would go up about $100 a month for pulling out that $20,000 in cash. And if I'm able to get $200 to $300 a month more in rent, that seems like a no-brainer, right? I'm pocketing $100 to $200 a month above what my extra mortgage payment would be.
But is doing a cash out refi for $20,000 worth it?
Right.
That resets the loan.
Yep.
And cash out refis, there's cost with it, like a significant amount of cost. You're gonna pay $5,000 easily in closing costs on there with point buy down.
Exactly.
So you can do that up to usually like a 75% loan to value. Mm-hmm. So option 1, what's option 2?
So option 2 would be do nothing. So just keep it. It's been a good performing rental for 5 years. Just keep it exactly how it's been. Just do some simple turnover items, paint. It was due for a paint for sure. Some minor landscaping, fix up, wonky doors, that sort of thing. But just do nothing and just expend that out of my reserves.
What would that minimal do nothing be like?
Probably, since there's paint involved, a few thousand.
Okay.
And then I would probably expect, based on market conditions, that I'd maybe be able to get about $50 to $100 a month more if I really pushed it. But I would budget that $1,400 market rent value.
All right, so option 2, no major rehab, basic turn costs, coming out of pocket. What's option 3?
So option 3 is the middle approach, and this is the one that I selected. So $20,000, like you said, I didn't want to go through the headache of doing a cash out refinance. I feel as if we already have a really good rate on this property. I think it's in the high 3s. The rates are increasing a little bit. I didn't want to spend loan costs when I had the rehab funds in cash available in hand. So I felt as if, I'm using cash that I have on hand to make an investment essentially. So that was kind of the logic there. So figure $20,000 to get $200 to $300 more a month. That's $2,400 to $3,600 more a year. So that's about a 12 to 18% cash on cash return. So that was kind of my thought on that. Of course, I'm not going to have the benefit of being able to use that $20,000 towards, say, a down payment to buy another house, which would give you all the other benefits of an appreciating asset, being able to have some tax benefits to it, mortgage pay down, all that good stuff. But I felt as if this middle ground approach was a safer approach, and it's more aligned with kind of where I'm at right now in my investment.
So you just, you fire hose information out there, some very important things to look at, because you said, hey, I can spend $20,000 and get 12 to 18% cash on cash return by investing on here. Now the opportunity cost is that $20,000 could buy you another property or be part of another down payment. Your cash on cash will be 3 to 6% most likely.
Yep.
But you're missing on the other benefits.
Exactly.
So that's something great to be aware of and consider it. But then you also align it back to your goals. This is your first property. Now you have quite a few more properties as well.
Yeah.
And depending on what your goals are or a viewer's goals are, it's going to change what they want to do with that money.
Exactly.
And this is where it gets, in my opinion, fun in real estate. Oh, I could pull this lever, I could do this, I could do this. And there's almost an infinite amount of variables, but it all comes back to what's the market doing, what's your opportunity cost, and what fits for your goals.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a pretty easy decision, believe it or not. It's a very large undertaking, but it was a pretty easy decision of what sits well with me. I'm really happy with the portfolio that I have. I feel as if I know the properties pretty well, the quirks, that they have, what, kind of how to balance that. And just kind of at this point, I'd rather just keep what I know, just get my return by doing this project instead of adding on to my portfolio right now, which I'm not quite ready for.
Cool. And that's the right answer.
Yeah.
So you're 5 years into this. 5 years ago, you and your husband were nervous about this, paying a lot of money back then for it. Did you imagine where you would be today in terms of the options and what this property has done?
Absolutely not. I would never have thought that we'd be kind of at this point where we can decide between so many different rehab options that make sense mathematically, not just from a cosmetic purpose, availability to tap into equity, that sort of thing, and then just, just generally holding it and managing it. I never really would have expected that, and I think that's probably a common feeling, I would imagine, for most new investors as we were.
So again, thinking back, what's your takeaway for people out there? They're buying their first investment property, they're considering it, what would you tell them with this in mind? Yeah,
so just kind of thinking back to where I was 5 years ago on this house, painfully sweating and painting this house, because that's what we did back then. I would just tell people, be patient. It'll work out. If you've run the numbers, it'll work out. It might not come as fast. This one has seen massive appreciation in just 5 years. I don't anticipate that's normal. So, it might not come as fast, but it will come if you invest right. So I think it's just being patient and methodical and, just being confident in yourself.
And holding cash reserves, which we talk about a lot.
Yes, I'm a big proponent of that because, I think that we'll probably have an update. I think my 20,000 is probably out the window. So I'll have some solid numbers when everything's over. But yeah, exactly. Cash reserves helps you sleep at night.
Cool. All right. Well, guys, give us feedback on here. Leave comments, questions in the comment section. Like us, subscribe us. We're doing a lot more property walks. Thank you. And Jenny, thank you for this Walk Your Property.
Yeah, thanks for coming.